You ever be at work and just be sitting there and you like, yeah, this is my last day. You ever go on break and never go back?
So baby, sit down, let's over. I wanna kiss it. And baby, sit down.
Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. I'm Sam.
And I'm Josh.
And we are
Josh and Sam, baby. And we back at it again with another YouTube video. Another video, really. That's really what it is. We're just having a good time.
Yeah.
Thank you for all the support. Thank you for everybody that's been hopping on the bandwagon. If you can, like, comment, subscribe.
Absolutely.
Comment, subscribe, like, any way that you want to. But we really do appreciate all the support that we've been getting. So
Absolutely.
Today, because of the support we've been getting, Sam, we decided that we're going to do a video just for you guys.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I've never seen this video, honestly.
No, we had a couple comments that told us that we should do this video next. So I'm very excited to know what we're going to see in this video.
Yeah. What is it even called? Let's see. David Cross, Why America Sucks at Everything. I don't know. I mean, let's try and see how this goes. I've never seen this. I don't even know who David Cross is.
Me neither.
I've never heard of David Cross. So here we go. We're attempting to do something amazing. Okay. Giving real roll your TV into the classroom vibe.
Yeah, it's definitely even very old.
America is the greatest country on earth, the strongest, the richest, the most powerful country on earth. As an American, I'm sure you've heard that roughly 135 times a year. 235 if you go to public school. 335 if you go to a Christian academy. We're told that Americans have the best lives of any people in the world. That we have low taxes, small government, and the highest living standards on earth. And most inaccurately, that we're the freest. Well, it is partly true.
Oh,
America
okay,
is
I know
the
what that
richest
is.
country, not just in the world, but in the history
Yeah.
of the world. It's really hard to comprehend just how rich we are. We have 18 million people who are millionaires. American households own about $100 trillion in wealth, an almost unthinkable amount of money. Okay, so America is the richest country ever. But there's a curious paradox. Most Americans actually have a much worse standard of living than people who live in poorer countries like Germany or Finland or Britain. But how can that be? That shouldn't make any sense. Well, here's the shitty deal. Americans get significantly worse services because our tax dollars don't fund them. So of course our services are worse, and thus we enjoy less happy lives than people who live in the aforementioned countries. Not that difficult a concept to conceive, really. You get what you pay for, said the cartoon dog to the other cartoon dog. And while you might think the reason American tax dollars don't fund as many services is because we pay lower taxes than other countries, that's not even true. When you add federal, state, local, and sales taxes and include other costs and services that our taxes don't cover but other countries' taxes do, like our uniquely high health insurance premiums, you'll find that Americans actually give away more of their wages than most of the developed world.
So, I feel like this is very true because sometimes I look at my check and I'm like, who is
Yeah.
all of these people taking my money? This isn't fair. Like, why don't we, I just don't understand, like, why is it that we're not able to, we really struggle. Like, sometimes we really struggle. Like, it's hard to get health care.
Yeah. And just think about it, like, all these people are paying their taxes. There's still schools that are in bad condition.
Yeah.
There's still schools that are using really old books.
Yeah.
The roads, some roads are terrible. Like, if everybody's paying all this money, there's a lot of things that still need to be done.
Mm-hmm. And just by looking, David Cross is the guy that was in the wheelchair and scared the movie. That was like
with the
No, he didn't have a little hand. He was in a wheelchair.
Oh yeah.
But they were like going back and forth, and they was like, "Oh, let me give you a round of applause to the guy with the little hand," and then he was like, "Oh, well, let me give you a standing ovation."
That's real funny. Let me give you a hand.
Well, that's awful kind of you. How about you give me a standing ovation?
Why don't you lift me up?
Oh, okay.
I just realized that was David Cross. I didn't know his name. Let's go back to it.
For example, in Canada, for a married worker with 2 kids, all of the previously mentioned costs combined, from taxes to health insurance premiums, make up only 11% of the average wage. In the UK, it's just about 26%. Meanwhile, once you tack on the cost of our outlandish health insurance premiums, you're spending a whopping 43% of your paycheck. That's more than France, Finland, Sweden, and Norway.
Why?
In real reality, Americans keep
Why
much
are we
less of what we
spending
own
that?
than in other countries. In other countries,
Why are
their
we
government
spending
takes a bit more tax, but then gives that money back to their citizens in the form of health care or job support, or a general safety net for all vulnerable citizens, no matter how dusky they are. So what do Americans get for the money we pay in?
Yeah.
Well, sure, we get a crumbling infrastructure, shameful homelessness, and millions of hungry, neglected children, but we also get some of the worst services in the developed world. Again, our healthcare. American healthcare is simultaneously the most expensive, the least efficient, and the least effective healthcare system in the developed world. Hey, the devil's trifecta. And in exchange for this extremely expensive, inefficient healthcare system, what do we get? Well, we get some of the worst health outcomes in the developed world. We have fewer hospital beds per capita than people in Turkey or Brunei. Americans have a lower life expectancy than people in Lebanon or Cuba. And in the Mississippi Delta and much of Appalachia, life expectancy is lower than in Bangladesh. In fact, in 2017, the United Nations sent a commissioner to West Virginia to document what he saw, and he described, quote,
It's
third
definitely
world
food.
conditions of absolute poverty,
Like,
unquote.
I feel like the only reason we eat the food that we do in America is convenience.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely
Yeah.
the diet that's killing us quicker than anything.
Yeah. So, I mean, if any of you countries want to figure out why America is what it is or why it's like suffering, it's very much so the food. The McDonald's, the Jack in the Box, the Wendy's, you know,
Yeah.
all of that. Even like, you know, the restaurants, like some of those conditions that they had that stuff in is terrible. Stuff be out of there. I used to be in the food industry, so I know for a fact.
And now I'm in the healthcare industry, and I
Exactly.
work at a huge hospital in downtown. And I wouldn't say our facility is bad. Our facility is really nice, but it could be better.
Yeah, it's a crackhead. Every 4 beds, there's at least one crackhead.
Okay, because we're a nonprofit, so we help people that don't have insurance.
That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
I don't.
which is a huge part of our population, actually.
And yeah, you say you don't need insurance there, so that makes sense, but we're definitely getting cancer and stuff from our food. And we know this, but let's be honest, because it's so convenient, we rather go to those places, which is dumb. I mean, I don't even know, like, we can cook, but at the same time, like, after a long day of work, and then you get off on Friday, and you like, oh my God, let me look at my check, and you see all of these things taken out, you just want to go get some alcohol because it's so it's so bad, like sometimes. And then they don't even apply it to places that we necessarily need it. Like, I was reading some comments and the guy was like, in Germany they just take it out and then they just apply it to our healthcare, so we don't necessarily have to pay. We're paying, but we're not paying. Like right there. That makes sense. I don't know, we're finna see.
We even have a higher infant mortality rate than people in Russia and Serbia. In every single metric, America does worse across the board. So why is healthcare so expensive?
Abortions.
Because it's so complicated. You have to look for in-network physicians, schedule an established care appointment, beg for
What?
coverage from your insurance company that couldn't care less about you, And that's if you're lucky enough to have good insurance. Compare that to Britain and all of those other evil, socialist-like countries where it's simple. Public hospitals provide free treatment to people who need it. That's it. I'll repeat that. Public hospitals provide free treatment to people who need it. And here's the best part. Even though Britain offers healthcare for free, their system is actually a lot cheaper to run than ours.
Free.
Per capita healthcare spending in the US is almost 3 times what it is in Britain, and almost 5 times what Canadians spend. In fact, Americans spend the most per person of any country in the world for healthcare. But the free market is more efficient, you screech. But in America, private systems often aren't efficient at all. Private drug companies have an incentive
I
to
believe
charge
that.
whatever they can get away with for pharmaceuticals. In Canada, a carton of insulin costs about $20. In the US, it costs
Yep.
$300.
Yeah.
And with private insurance companies footing the bill, hospitals have an incentive to get as much money out of patients as
Boy.
possible too. In 2015, the average cost of an MRI scan in the US was $1,119, but it was only $215 in Australia. Spain, about $181. And our healthcare system is so inefficient that we spend over a third of our cost on
19.
administration. The United States spends significantly more on administration than we spend on preventative or long-term health care. That's just not
Yeah.
smart.
This is terrible. This is why I be flying overseas to go get them BBLs.
Yeah.
This is why y'all be going everywhere else to go get them BBLs.
That's honestly terrible. If you really think about it, like it's honestly terrible the way we do people. The way, yeah, the U.S. does people.
So basically, it's just a fight between the healthcare. So it's a fight between the hospitals, the insurance companies, and the pharmaceutical companies.
Who is gonna scam us the worst?
Yes, because of greed. Obviously, it's smart, but let's be honest, it's smart. Because what they're doing is they're trying to make every single dollar that they can, every single penny that they can. And like he said, they spend a lot of money on administration.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to get into the administration in hospitals, but for some hospitals, it is not good. Like, they spend so much money on that for it not to be good, for the services not to be good. Even on that aspect.
I truly believe if COVID wasn't so detrimental in numbers, we'd be paying for that vaccine. We'd be paying for the test. We'd be paying for all of that.
Yeah.
I feel like if the numbers weren't like going skyrocketing as bad and as quickly, we would have been paying for all of that stuff. The poor, the homeless, they wouldn't have gotten anything. They wouldn't have been able to get any type of protection.
Yeah. And I don't want to be like a conspiracy theorist, but I'm just being real. I don't know if y'all believe in like population control, where like the poor just keep getting poor. The poor can't, take care of their bills. They say, well, just cut back, just this, just that. They can't get the proper health care. Insulin over here it's terrible, honestly. Just the rate, as you can see, $20 to $300, bro.
Yeah.
You know how many bottles I can buy at the club for $300? 2 bottles. So I would rather go to the club than buy 2 bottles.
For instance, like my mom and my cousins recently went to Mexico, and they saw all the over-the-counter drugs just available for people to get. And they were completely shocked. They were like, wait, we're not even supposed to be able to get that. But think about it. That's why people go to Mexico or go to these other countries. It may not be the safest option, but they're desperate. People get to a point where they're just truly desperate.
Yes.
And they're willing to go to these different countries to these different extents to get what they need to survive.
So you ever hear somebody be like, go back to this, go back to that, and you in America, like, America I'm American, and I know for a fact it's a great place, but there is a lot of corruption, and there's a lot of things that just shouldn't be happening. Like, if we're trying to protect our people, our culture, our structure, I believe every place has a culture, but why is it that they're trying to destroy our culture? Is it not, I mean, are Americans not running these companies? I don't know, bro. Like,
Okay, we get it. We all know that American healthcare is so much more expensive, you say, but that's the cost of having the freest freedom in God's favorite country. Well, guess what? Medical procedures that are totally free in Britain, like giving birth, cost tens of thousands of dollars in the United States. I mean, you want to talk about the cost of freedom. Sadly, because of these high costs, Americans often avoid going to the doctor, something almost half the population say they do. With shoddy or non-existent health insurance, Americans will wait until their conditions force them into the emergency room where treatment is far more expensive. Again, not a smart system. Quite often, they end up putting off medical visits and dying. Susan Finley, a 53-year-old Walmart employee in Colorado, got pneumonia and took one day off of work beyond what Walmart's policy allows. So of course, Walmart's gonna Walmart, which they did by firing her.
yeah.
Without her job,
Don't even call the ambulance. Don't even call, if you are in America and you call the ambulance and you get in the back of that ambulance and they shut those doors, $900 off the rip. Off the rip, bro. $900. They finna tax you, boy.
Yeah.
Be ready.
Cause baby, that drive over to your house was not free.
Oh no. And it took, they charging about the, I don't know. They running up that bill.
she lost her nominal health care coverage, she struggled to find new work, and after avoiding a visit to the doctor for flu-like symptoms, she was found dead in her apartment. When Americans do manage to get treated, they frequently can't afford it. Simple, life-saving treatments can cost tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, and if they don't have really good insurance, they're forced to take on medical debt. Tens of millions of Americans owe medical debt, often into the tens of thousands of dollars. Meanwhile, in a country like Britain or Norway, medical debt is almost unheard of. But
I
hey,
didn't even know that.
that's why GoFundMe is such a critical component of American healthcare.
We're
1
begging.
in 3 GoFundMe campaigns is now for medical bills. I'll repeat that. 1 in 3 GoFundMe campaigns is now for medical bills. America is such a strong, powerful, rich, and great country that its citizens have to beg strangers on the internet for money so they can get life-saving treatments that are free in the rest of the developed world. But hey, that's just healthcare. Americans get terrible deals wherever you look. Let's take work, for example.
That's true.
Americans work longer hours than people in any other rich country in the world, and that's not because they enjoy sleep deprivation and not seeing their families for days at a time. It's because they don't want to starve, or freeze, or die. See, America has the least generous job support programs, the least generous family benefits, and the least generous unemployment benefits of any wealthy country. It's one of the only countries on Earth that doesn't guarantee paid time off for vacations. It doesn't even help provide paid time off for parents who just had a child.
Let's pause on this. Like I said, I work in a hospital. I've seen at least 5 women that are pregnant that work up until the day of delivery. Until the day of delivery. Because they say they can't take the extra time off. It's gonna cut into the 6 weeks that they have.
So they only
And
get
it's
6
gonna,
weeks.
yeah, or like anything beyond that point, it's completely unpaid. I think that is so sad to me.
And what's crazy about birth is it's more than likely going to happen.
Yeah.
It's more than likely going to happen. And it's not fair, bro. Like,
Think about the women who be put on bed rest early.
for real.
Like, if you have to stop working earlier, you're gonna come up to less money. Period. They're gonna just stop paying you.
Like, for people that are from other countries, how do y'all deal with pregnancies?
And maternity leave
Maternity leave.
and paternity leave.
Yeah,
Like, how is that different? Do you guys have that, or how long do you get?
Yeah, because over here, it's like you get 6 weeks, and
The mother, that's generous.
Maybe the father gets some.
Yeah.
Maybe. So if the mother has postpartum, has sickness, is in the hospital still, the husband is like, I either have to take off work or and risk of losing my job, or
Go get the money.
or use all of my PTO, use all of my sick time, use all of my vacation time, like, you know, use all of that, my bereavement time, have to use all of those things in order to survive during that period.
Yeah.
Most jobs are not gracious in that, especially large corporations.
No, absolutely.
America is built on large corporations, and that is like one of the biggest issues, is that it's so built on large corporations that we forget about the people, about what the people offer.
Yeah.
And like, if these people don't decide, if we all decided, okay, I'm not going to work today, they would be like, okay, well, what do y'all want to do?
Yeah.
A union is what they call it, but.
And it's not coincidental that we're also one of the most hostile countries to workers' rights. America has one of the lowest unionization rates in the entire world. Maybe this deprivation, our refusal to give people the means to lead a good, dignified life commensurate with how rich our country is, can explain a bit of what we've seen in the United States over the last few decades. Fraying communities, rising rates of depression and suicide, huge numbers of deaths from drug overdoses. These so-called deaths of despair, suicide, drug overdoses, alcoholic liver disease, they're one big reason why American life expectancy has actually started to decline over the last few years. With such poor conditions, it's not a surprise that poverty is so rampant in the United States. America devotes a smaller percentage of spending on social welfare than any other industrialized economy because, say it with me, socialism is evil. It's evil. Go to Denmark and try telling those happy, healthy families enjoying their paid vacation that their system of government is evil. Guess what? I guarantee they'll know you're an American. But I digress. America also has the highest rate of child poverty of any developed country, and the highest percentage of workers earning significantly less than the national median income. That seems pretty evil to me, especially since such a tiny fraction take as much of your money for themselves and their families as you will let them. All the while, both parties smile and shake hands. Across every single metric, no people accept a worse deal than Americans today. High taxes, high cost of living for next to nothing in return from the government. The most expensive healthcare system for the worst health outcomes. More money taken from workers for the highest rate of child poverty. We are the richest country in the history of the world, but we have fewer miles of high-speed rail than Uzbekistan. We are the greatest country in the world, yet we have the most people in prison of any country, and the highest incarceration rate as well, and a higher rate of police killings than in Angola and Sudan. America is bad at everything because instead of choosing to make life better for people through a public healthcare system or more generous childcare policies or better public transit or programs that allow people to spend more time with their families, American law is designed and crafted to protect a class of parasitical middleman industries. Instead of using a proportionally tiny piece of the massive amount of the wealth in this country to make people's lives healthier and happier, most of our elected leaders are, and have been for generations, engaged in a massive project of looting. Gently and lovingly guiding as much money as possible from working people into the pockets of the well-connected and the ultra-rich. Think about that as we start hearing about the inevitable rise in homelessness, poverty, starvation, and sickness that will occur during these coming months and years in the greatest, strongest, richest, most powerful country on the face of the earth. I'm David Cross for the Gravel Institute.
We need y'all to do us a favor and run these numbers up, please, because we tired of working. Did y'all see this video? You ever be at work and just be sitting there and you like, yeah, this is my last day. You ever go on break and never go back? A lot of jobs make you feel drained and used.
and unappreciated.
So baby, sit down, let's over. I wanna kiss you. And baby, sit